Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Software Plaza podcast. I'm Twain Taylor, editor at Software Plaza, and we've been doing this for a while, but we have conversations each week with different people who are building something cool in the space. And there's a lot of conversations. If you head over to our website, softwareplaza.com, or if you go to our YouTube channel or Spotify, iTunes, anywhere, you'll find all of the episodes. So just go back and give it a listen. There's so many of them. But yeah, today I'm excited to be talking to Lauren Morris, who's the head of product at Amazee.io. That's AMAZEE.io. That's their website. And I want to just read their tagline. Your managed open source enterprise hosting platform. Okay, that's a mouthful,
It
but
is
let
a
me read it again.
mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah. So your managed open source enterprise hosting platform, customer centric, data sovereign, flexible, secure. Okay, I'm going to let Lauren really explain this in a bit, but before that, to just give us an intro about just her and her background and just her journey to Amazee.
Awesome.
Welcome, Lauren. Take it away.
Hi. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is a mouthful. What I like to say to people is we take the complex and we make it easy for you so that you don't have to worry about it. I am Lauren Morris. Like you said, I am the head of product here at Amazee.io. And I call myself an accidental product manager. I didn't start out with a goal of I'm going to go into product and I'm going to build. I just knew
Mhm.
what I knew and ended up actually pursuing first a master's degree in library and information science. And
Wow.
yeah, so the information science part was always like fascinating to me and just fell in love right away with the nerdy stuff of metadata and data and
Mhm.
relational databases and all those things that when we fast forward, guess what AI loves? It loves data. So
Gosh. Yeah. Wow. That's like reading way into the future.
right, right. So I just kind of followed this path and some detours just as life does, including a decade of running an improv theater, which really you don't connect the dots until later, but really learning to being a founder and a sole proprietor teaches you everything about the business first and foremost, and what it means to bootstrap and make things successful and grow. But then it also is all these other product pieces of what is it your user is really looking to solve, what is working, what is not working, how
Mhm.
can you use data to inform decisions, even yes, even in comedy. And in comedy, when you're on stage, it's are people laughing or not? So most people are afraid that people will laugh at them. Those of us who get on stage for comedy, our worst nightmare is nobody laughing at you. So, so then um, life happens, and so that was like always part of who I am. And then I had an opportunity to go back to library roots, but this time at an ed tech company,
Oh, okay.
and they wanted me to work on their digital library around
Hmm.
data, metadata, search, indexing, those kind of things. And very
Hmm.
quickly, they were like, "You should come be in our product department." And I was like, "Oh, okay." so,
Wow. That's a nice
so
move. Wow.
yeah, so it was a great opportunity to learn product, to do product, to build products.
Hmm.
We had about 20 million users a month there, and it wasn't just it was both nonprofit B2C, but we also had a B2B. So you learn B2B, B2C, B2B to C, those kind of things, and then just from there, my sort of tech career took off.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, and so now, right? So how do you end up at Maisie? Great question. um,
Hmm.
One of the things through my journey is how much I enjoy working with engineers and how hard it is to get software into production. It's not an
Hmm.
easy job, and
Right.
I knew that whatever I did next, I wanted to help people. And if I could, I wanted to help engineers.
Mm,
And Amazee came by as an opportunity. And not only does it help engineers, it helps companies with their goals, but it also is open source. And that is incredibly important. As someone who has like an arts and nonprofit and library background, something where knowledge is open and available to everyone is very appealing to me. And yeah, so
mm.
that's how I found myself here at Amazee, and it's just been going ever since.
Wow. Yeah, fascinating story. Lots of twists and turns there. I'm sure that itself would make like for a great story one day.
You know, sitting
But
down and writing a book is a whole different thing, right? Like,
yeah, fascinating though. Um, yeah, the last time like we had Amazee on the show was I think like maybe 2, 3 years ago even. I think was the CEO. I forget his name. Is it Franz
it was
Karlsberger?
Franz at the time. Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So is he still around?
No, so Franz, I came on and I got to work with Franz for a short period of time, and then he actually just got a great opportunity that he couldn't
Okay.
pass up. And so what happened is Franz went to leave that seat open, but because we are owned by another company, having a CEO within a company that has a CEO, it was weird. So
Mm,
instead, what we did is Michael Schmidt, who's the co-founder of Amazee and Amazee.io, was already at Mirantis. And so we brought him back over to the Amazee side as GM. And so
yeah.
Michael and I have been getting to work side by side for almost 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's quite big news. I saw the acquisition. I was really happy to see that, yeah, Amazee got acquired. But seems like there's also some new acquisition news. I mean, we can't go into details because it's just like a few days old.
It
But
is.
maybe you want to like just tell us like the very brief headline about the acquisition.
Yeah, so Mirantis itself was acquired by a company called Iren, IREN, and they are very into, from what I'm learning and knowing is that, data, energy, data centers, they want to get into like neo clouds and things like that. And Mirantis, you know, understands, so where Mirantis sits like one layer below what Amazee does. Like we can manage with application delivery, we manage the Kubernetes, and then on the AI side, we can manage API gateways, LLMs, and all these vector databases, and all the like buzzwords right now. And so the hardware and the actual Kubernetes clusters and all of that, that's Mirantis. And so I think they were acquired to help Iren probably do more AI, is what, as we're learning. And so we'll see how far up the stack this means,
Mhm.
whether or not, I don't think it's going to change our current trajectory too much, because we were already built out a revenue line for AI in addition to our hosting. So, and for me personally, this is all infrastructure at the end of the day, so we can handle it. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see how this podcast ages, I guess, together.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, yeah, just hot off the press.
Right.
But um, yeah, yeah, I'm curious to know though, just you being at Amazee and just with lots happening around, like like how are things? Like we could start off with like Amazee's product, where it's been, where it's at right now, and just some of the things on your mind as you see things changing around with AI.
Yep.
Uh, because you being head of product, I'm sure you have a lot of opinions on how fast you'd like to go, how slow you'd like to go, in which direction you want to go, and I kind of want to get into a bit of that product brain of yours
Sure.
to see how you're thinking through all of this. Let's start with Amazee itself. Tell us about just the core offering of Amazee, and explain a bit more of that tagline
Yeah.
that I read at the start.
that long tagline. Sure. So we've got like Amazee.io, and then we have Amazee AI these days. And so let's start with Amazee.io, because that's where everything started. And
Mhm.
the original vision here was Amazee was doing hosting, and this thing that not a lot of people were doing, which is gonna, for all of us, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, okay, we're aging ourselves, was Kubernetes. And so they figured out like there's this really cool thing we could do with Kubernetes, and we could do with scaling and these hyperscalers and that kind of stuff, and building their application delivery system on top of that, which is known as Lagoon. And Amazee is fiercely open source, and so Lagoon is a completely open source tool. And so really it was about hosting and managed infrastructure as they've grown. So first it was, we can host anything. We can make it easy to host. Lagoon is here. You, the developer, do not need to know Kubernetes. You just have to worry about developing whatever application you've been asked to develop. And we will abstract away and make this easy for you. And so that was the idea of Lagoon. And over time, as Lagoon began to grow, it was also what other sort of managed services, which is often what you see in open source, right? So you have a piece of open source software. Well, you can't really sell that software. You could build a bunch of enterprise features on it and then gate it. Or what other people do is a bunch of services that help, with a bunch of wraparound services and those kind of things for more enterprise level customers. Because at the end of the day, enterprise beats. Well, I don't know if it beats. It totally depends on your product, but a lot of these places push toward enterprise,
Right.
and so not an uncommon path to take, I guess. And so Amazee started to build out all these different managed services, infrastructure, trying to do like infrastructure as code, platform as a service type of services. And that's where they were and growing. And when I joined, we were right there. We were still doing it, and AI was now like AI, and Amazee, right before I joined, figured out they can definitely manage or like host GPUs, if you will, and things like that, or make it easier for. But what, because I had worked at AI companies prior to this, so I was coming in, and I didn't really have an expectation for us to do either or. I needed to come in and see what everybody was doing first. And also, I should say, I started out as their first product hire. And so I was a product manager at a time before I was head of product. And so coming in as a PM and not a head of, I wanted to see what everybody's vision was, what's going on, what's working, what's not, where should we point and poke. And there's challenges when you're a first PM there for that anyways. And so as I got in there, then we had the transition of Franz out and Michael in, and Michael and I were talking, and he's like, we need other streams of revenue. I want to start with AI. And I was like, right, of course, because we have the infrastructure to provide that. And so off we ran with the Amazee AI section of the business, if you will. And so now we have both of these running. And I could keep going. Do you want me to keep?
Yeah, the story is shaping up quite interesting. So yeah, seems like it is going somewhere. But yeah, yeah, maybe I'll probably interrupt to ask follow-up questions in between
Yeah.
every now and then. But yeah, definitely tell us like how has this gone? Like the launch of the Amazee.ai, like what was the first product that you offered? Like how did you even get to like this is what we offer? Because it seems like you were just at the stage that we need an additional revenue stream and AI is the happening thing. But how do you get from that to Amazee.ai?
Right. So the very first product that we looked at tied back to Amazee's very original roots, which is Drupal, and the Drupal CMS and the Drupal ecosystem. And Drupal itself has an entire Drupal AI initiative now, but
Okay.
it was just in its nascent period. And we were like, we could provide a very easy one-click installation for
Hmm.
people to get AI up and running in their Drupal, sites, because as Drupal AI grows, we want to make it super easy so people can use Drupal AI, and then we can host it in a secure way. And so a few things, I guess, to unpack there. One
Hmm.
was, regardless of the product we were going to build, and we'll go through products that I've already sunsetted in a second, and so it's fun. Um, but
Hmm.
regardless of the product we were going to build, this is what we know about our users. We're a global company. And so we
Hmm.
have users around the globe, which means we're dealing with so many different rules and regulations, that so often our customers come to us because we can handle the privacy, we can handle the regulations, we can handle the certifications, all of those things that are needed to run in a data sovereign way. And
Hmm.
we said, okay, because we're already have this in place with all of our clusters and our 60, like we have 60, 70 clusters and things like that we manage already. We can AI, generative AI and agentic AI and all that is such a fast moving machine
Right.
for all of us right now,
Yeah.
that privacy and security is something we are not going to give up on. It's not, it's a value, it's like a hard line for us. So no matter what, it was
Hmm.
going to be private and secure.
Okay.
And we wanted that privacy and security to be affordable to anybody, not just enterprises.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
so if you look at these data policies of a lot of these places, if you're on an enterprise level, you get all the data sovereignty. If you're not, it's scary, where different, because they have all these components that are going to places, and then they're traveling to all these different places. Like, just because something starts off in point A does not mean when it gets to point B, it went to point Z, it went point 5.32, it's gone all over the place before it lands where it lands. And so we started with those values in place so that no matter what we built,
Hmm.
privacy, security, and enterprise readiness without enterprise pricing were things that we were going to always lean into. And so we started with this
Hmm.
Drupal module, and it was great because it was like this one-click install. And what was really neat at the time is like how great search had become, right? Like, and,
Hmm.
and still today, yes, as someone who has an information background, yes, let's talk about searching all we can. But if we look back, like where we are now, and now we've got like harness engineering and agentic engineering, and we're doing all these workflows, it was cute. Like, wow, like look what we've done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so
Yeah.
yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Amazee.ai website, and I must say it's like worlds apart from Amazee.io, and
Yes,
excited to see OpenClaw. I've been playing around with Hermes Agent recently, and so
I
yeah, seems
love
like you guys
Hermes.
have been
Yes.
like following what's happening in the AI stuff and building really quickly because like you already have OpenClaw solutions here. That's
Yes.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that we were able to do that I'm very proud of, our, like I told you, one of my favorite things is working with engineers. And I am so impressed every day with our engineering team across all products, right? Like, as head of product, I'm looking across all products. And we have such incredibly smart, just really good engineers where I work. And the reason you can see one of our websites and be like, wow, you guys are moving fast, is because internally, how we sort of handle our own internal development and what's happening and things like that. Um, and part of that is using the power of AI in the right places, right? Like, there are
Hmm.
times that I don't think it makes sense, and I know many of my engineers are like, it doesn't make sense for me to have AI write something. I'm just much faster because I'm that senior about it, and I'm working in like Go or something like that, and like it just doesn't, and it's a legacy code base, right? And so it's thinking about, okay, in our processes and systems, where does it make sense for just good old fashioned, like better processes and systems, or can we AI enable ourselves? So on the AI side, this is greenfield, and there's pros and cons to everything. And the pros in greenfield is you don't have to deal with legacy code, right?
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
can just run something up, test it really quickly, and then if
Mm,
it's garbage, it's garbage. And then you do it again and you do it again until you start to figure it out. And that is one of the reasons why we've been able to move fast. And we also having a very clear vision and where we're going to go and these very clear values, that also helps to make things go really fast. As someone in product, um, it is always a balance. In some places, it's depending on your product experience. In some places, it's really easy. Some places, it's really hard. So I want to recognize that.
mhm.
But it is always a balance of the needs of the business, the needs of the user, and the needs of the engineering team, i.e., what is technically feasible, what is sustainable, what is scalable, how much tech
Mhm.
debt are we going to be under, those kind of things. And so you're constantly juggling those in your
Right.
brain. And when you have an opportunity to do greenfield, you can lean a little harder into, okay, what do we want to try? What do we want to test? Versus when you already have very established enterprise customers, you have to be a little more like slower in your approach or in your rollouts, or like you might have a contract. It's like enterprise contracts are all over the place. I've seen enterprise contracts where if
Mhm.
you roll out and you make a mistake and you roll back, you have to come in front of us and explain why. Well, that means I
Mm,
don't want to. Why would I want to experiment in that
right.
environment, right? Like so all of these factors are what determines what you can or cannot get out the door. So
Mhm.
so I have an AI team that has the benefit of we don't have any of that baggage with us, so we can run as fast
Yeah.
as we want to run.
Wow, awesome. One of the things with the challenges with building an AI right now is that things change so fast. Like, everyone was excited about MCP a year ago and then switched to agent skills and then moving to, like right now, Hermes seems like it's really the thing.
Hermes is
Uh,
having a moment, right? Yeah. And have you seen just the last couple of days? Don't use skills, use HTML instead so people can
oh,
see
yeah,
and
yeah.
interact with what you're doing. Yes. So, which to me, I go back to my improv roots of yes, and it depends what I'm trying to do because
Mm,
HTML is a lot more tokens than skills. And I think that's also something that we're starting to see as well is that um, for a while, everyone can run, everybody's being heavily subsidized, everyone's saying use AI.
mm,
And then they start doing that, and then they're like, wow, these bills are big, you know,
mm,
or you have something like GitHub being like, we actually cannot afford to just
mm,
be this generous with these tokens. And so now we're going to this more like usage based sort of pricing, and everyone's bill is going to inflate. And now people who are head of engineering and head of product and head of this and that and business and CFOs and all this are going, well, wait, we had, X amount of dollars
mm,
allocated every month for every, I don't know, also every person in the org, every engineer in the org, like every company's struggling with that right now. And
mm,
their bills are like three times what they were.
mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
yeah, so it's changing so quickly. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
it's exhausting at times, right? Like
Yeah.
in the evenings, I insist on reading actual books that are fiction.
Mm. Oh yeah, I think there's like this whole movement that's gonna happen. Like I'm going back to audio cassettes.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate. Um, but like you said, it's exhausting sometimes. And I would ask, like as a builder, as a team, like building really fast, and you guys are moving fast, as you said. Tell us about some of the, maybe if you could give us even an example, that would be awesome, but of like some of the decisions you had to make along the way in terms of like where do we allocate resources, or like we're okay to do this, but not that, or go back to like this is our value, this is what we started out. We want to be private, we want to be secure, and this doesn't feel that. If you can kind of give us some of those real examples of things you guys actually debated and how you guys thought through those things, I'd really love to hear that insight.
Sure. Let me see if I can come up with some good examples. So, I, hmm, let's take the Amazee claw, if you will. So OpenClaw gets up and running, and we all go, okay, this is changing how people think about what they can do with AI. We're no longer talking about just pulling information out of something. We're now talking about pushing information, right? So the typical way it would go, you pull up your chatbot, you talk to your chatbot, you say what you want, blah, blah, it goes off, it does that. Now what you're doing is, a bunch of workflows and a bunch of automations and a bunch of cron jobs and all of these things. And to the point about, if this is the industry and this is how it's changing, and we are building for people who are building, one of the really important things is that you have an opportunity to play in these sandboxes in a safe and secure way. And OpenClaw, being as big as it is and stuff, we know it has a lot of vulnerabilities and whatnot. So how do you help people get up and running while also helping them to mitigate blast radius of things? And we were like, we can provide this to them in a way that is safe and secure, because we have the already SOC 2 an ISO certified hosting underneath. We can, and because we're containerized already, and because we're doing all of these things, we can. So it made sense to be like, here's an opportunity to help people who want to do that. But also, how are we going to get it up and running, right? And to your point about allocating who does what. So we right now, and this is constantly shifting under our feet, we right now in our org want everyone to use AI if they want to be using AI in whatever they do, and we want them to be able to experiment. And so there's a variety of ways, and it does tie to the OpenClaw. I'll get back to it eventually. It is, we do it in a variety of ways. One of which is the same that we do for our customers, and that is we have access to LLM via Azure, Bedrock, and Vertex. And so we can get these models and we can have them in safe and secure environments because they're sitting on our infrastructure. Because we're already run that infrastructure for other people, you got a dog food, right? Like there's no world where we can't, where I would sit with you and tell you, I sell AI and API and access to LLMs, but we don't use them ourselves, right? Like that would be ridiculous. So we encourage everybody, but it's not an open checkbook either, right? So there's a lot of looking at what is this costing us this month and having conversations. And then we had conversations about, okay, it like very much so in the beginning, if you're very interested in doing it, just let us know. And like, we're going to start you off like, here's $50 a month kind of thing. Let's see what people are spending, what they're doing. But engineering teams, that's a whole different setup. And $50 isn't going to go very far. So then it becomes a conversation about what is it they're doing with the AI? And do we want our engineers and our designers and our product managers completely AI powered? Or are we saying you can only augment here or there? And ultimately, we have made the decision that if they want to go all in, they go all in, and we're gonna like foot the bill for it, kind of thing. And so we have right now we have different like squads, if you will, within the company, and our AI squad because again, greenfield, the AI could help get things up and running a lot. So like there are power users. I'm part of that also. I'm one of the power users, and our design is also like we are all doing it. The lines have blurred so much in the past year about who does what.
Yeah.
So, but from a very high like executive level, there's constant conversations about spend, what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
how long we think we're going to do it. I think the conversation around governance and sovereignty was easier for us because we
Okay.
already were doing it, because we
All right. All right.
provide that to others. But that's something that I think everybody who is thinking about how do I get my employees AI powered, it's not always as simple as here's a subscription to a Claude or a Gemini or a ChatGPT, because where's that data going? What are your SLAs that are in place? What are your contracts that are in place? What have you told your
Right.
customer, right? And so you need
Yeah.
you need people who have the time and space to understand that, and that so that you can let people learn and upskill, but in a safe way. And so the thing with OpenClaw and having it and Amazee Claw is that it then allowed us to also introduce agents into our own company. And so instead of like everybody just having a blank check to spend on AI, we now are like, if your team or you as even you as an individual is like, I have this problem I want to solve, and I think it's through an agent, we have a way for you to come and talk to those of us who understand this. And then we have a system in place for, there's a person who helps you get your agent up and running. And so now we have our own agents embedded throughout the company. And so we have a couple of agents like in Slack.
Mm-hmm.
And there's teams like our customer teams and our support teams can use those. And that's another way to not only let people experiment and see what you can do and jump on the
Mm-hmm.
AI train, but also a way to control cost and information.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of insights you've given us there about just how you approach costs and still having some control while enabling, people to go and build stuff and just, explore. One question that comes to my mind, apart from this, is just access to data, which as well is very key. And I think you'd be like a great person to ask this to because of your experience with dealing with metadata and all of that for decades now. Um, what are some of the things you're seeing about data access and AI, and how do you separate it? Because we don't have RBAC and stuff for a lot of these
Yeah.
these
So
agents.
so access to data. Oof. So there's several things. One, it starts with your data. So a very strong frontier model can go into a source of data and figure things out, but it will churn itself, it'll tire itself out, it'll spend. Or you can spend some time before that and make sure your data is clean and tagged well, which then leads to better outcomes in the long run. Not as fast, but it is a way to do that. And then the question becomes, well, who should have access? And I think of the AI just like I think about user personas and who should have access to data and what is it they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, anytime now, what I have my teams doing when you're proposing a new feature or even a new product or something, I don't want to know just about persona A or persona B. I want to know how the agent persona fits into this, because the end user is going to use their AI to find the data that our product is building. And so I want to know what you're thinking about when it comes to, so in terms of access, how are you going to build your APIs?
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about that? How are you going to provide access to this? Are we going to do an MCP or CLI? Because to your point, MCPs are really in, MCPs are not. Now we're doing skills. Now, oh, everybody should be doing this and that. One, I think MCPs are going to be around for a long time because enterprises are slow to adopt, and connecting these sources of data, a lot of these places are still doing MCPs, especially if you're talking about people who are not on the technical side of the org. They just want to be able to like enable something that says now, source A and source B are connected, and away they go. But what is in those MCPs? What are we giving the access to? What tools, like tools in a multi-agentic setup. And so, for example, if you have an agent who is able to search, what tool are they using when they search? But what is it they can do when they search? Are they just bringing back the information to you, or are they allowed to change things on their way back, right? Like those are things that you have to be thinking about. And that's how you start to have more control in a very uncontrolled environment. And so things that become important are observability tools and
Okay.
telemetry and evaluation tools, so that you can then trace, and your engineering team.
Any examples you care to mention?
Do you mean like actual tools?
The
Yeah.
observability and
So
the
Phoenix Arise is an open source tool. Lang Fuse is an open source tool. I believe Lang Chain is also an open source tool. Like, I'm going to give you open source tools, obviously. So and there's more and more, and like sometimes you just need OTel, like you just need open telemetry, and you can pull that into your Grafana, or you could put like there's ways to do that as well. And so, because there's so many different metrics you're looking at when you're looking at the performance of an agent. And some of your engineers, depending on where they're sitting in the org, they care about the latency, they care about, tokens. Others are going to care about, this tool was called, did it do what it was supposed to do? Did it do anything it wasn't supposed to do? And if one of the rules is do not, and I'm making it simple, but do not, don't do anything destructive, did it do something destructive? Right? Like, yeah.
Right.
I myself, when I use Hermes or any of the claws that are out there, or any of the multiple, like they're all coming out now, right? I start very small on what an agent can do, and then think about, okay, opening up its access. So right now, I need a reminder once a week for something personally. But I just need that reminder. I don't need you touching my calendar. I don't need you adding things to my calendar, right? So like you're getting read-only access.
Right.
And so those are ways you have to start to control a very like volatile, and then there's just so many factors. We joke because we'll have people like internally ask our team things, and we're like, non-deterministic system. Like that's our answer.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, really interesting thoughts there that you shared. And yeah, it's a journey we're all on, and it's very relatable. And I think in some sense, in definitely a lot of senses, you are ahead in many ways, and just how you guys are working together as a team and the things you're talking about. So it's great to get some insight into that. I want to ask about just how all of this shapes what you're bringing to your customers through Amazee.ai, and also see the AI gateway, which is also something that we haven't yet touched on, but I think you mentioned that's something that you guys are excited about, that you're building out. If you can kind of tie all these things we discussed about just how you guys think about AI and kind of connect it to how this is influencing what you're bringing to the market, and maybe even segue to talking about the AI gateway. I'd love to hear about that.
Yep. So through the journey of what is it our customers are trying to do and what do they want to do, and with our, security, value and data sovereignty, what is it we can do? And so we've been learning through experimentation, talking to customers and whatnot, and then watching the market. People want to be able to build, right? And so we want to help people build in a way that is safe and secure. And so that led us to the AI Gateway. And because we all, like I said, because we have all these infrastructure in place, well, then we're just going to treat LLMs and stuff as well as more infrastructure that we can now abstract away the complexity. Because sure, you can go to Bedrock and you can do it. You can go, right? But now you're asking people to be like system admins, and you're asking them to be DevOps, and you're asking them to understand these things. When they're like, I would like to just try to build something with AI, and I would love to be able to try different models, and I'd love to know that it's safe, and I'd like to choose it in my very specific region, which becomes very interesting because we'll talk about that when I pull up the gateway here in a second. And so that led us to, let's build an AI API gateway, and you just can buy your credits as you go, and you can go build and explore. So that's how we ended up there. I can sort of walk and talk us through if you. Okay. Yeah. I always love doing live demos because those always go well.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to see it in action. And it's really cool that you guys actually do all this on a day-to-day basis, and it's not just something you're building to sell. That's really cool.
Yeah, and then I, just in terms of like nerd talk kind of stuff, I love this stuff. So I have a whole home lab set up so that I can
Wow.
I run local models, I run, I do these kind of things. But anyways, that's a different podcast and a different time. So you just go to my.amazee, so AMA. I'm American, so I always say Z, but ZEEE .io. And it'll take you to your sign up. And so you can either register, or like I have an account, so we'll just go into my account and pick a Google account, and away you go into the gateway. And like I said, live demo is always fun. That's great. I love that for us. Let's find out. Sometimes, it gets okay. And now I'm logged in. So yay, I got logged in. And so you're in a dashboard, and we're moving fast. So things are we already have feedback on some sidebar reorganization that we want to do and whatnot. But the heart of this is the concept of your workspaces, and things I like to think about from a developer. A developer may be working in an organization where they have several different projects. Or perhaps themselves are freelancing and have their own customers, or there's a variety of reasons. Or someone like me, I have my internal team, but then there's also product work keys that I have for my product team and whatnot. So we have the concept of workspace where you can have these separated areas so that you can control your keys, because this goes back to the privacy and data security and whatnot. How do I control AI? And one way you do that is by giving and it goes down, right? Like if you're an admin to a user, and then there's workspace, and then there's team levels, and then there's key levels. But at all of these places, you should be able to control things, including spend. I think one of the interesting things is people often think like, oh, I don't want to spend money because of money, but it's also a way to control. It's also a way to secure your AI, because if for some reason the AI goes off the rails or something happens and suddenly it just starts making request after request after request, not only do we have throttling underneath so we can stop it, if you have a dollar amount, you won't wake up and be one of those headlines of Google sent me a bill for $10,000 because my agent went rogue.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so so if you go into your work stream, we, like I was saying, we have all of these different regions in the area. And so you can see right now we have Australia, Switzerland, Germany, United States, and the UK. We can spin up and down other places. Depends on demand and as we grow. And then places like Germany and Switzerland, then they have, especially like they have their own regional laws and things like that, so you can know that you're doing that. And then we have different amount of models in the region, and every day new models are being we're bringing new models into those regions, and that
Mm.
is a little bit out of our control because it's based on availability from the
Right.
providers underneath. So if we just go
Mm-hmm.
into one of the regions, you can ask questions here. I'll pause.
Mm-hmm. So when someone is using a model, does the data actually go to the model provider or does it stay within that region? Like, how does that work?
Right. So what happens is, so if we take something like Anthropic or OpenAI, what they have agreed to is that that model, so let's just say Claude,
Mm-hmm.
Claude, if I am using keys in Germany, and I decide to use Claude because we have Claude that you can choose from, Gemini, that kind of stuff. If
Mm-hmm.
I want my key, if I want to use Claude, what Anthropic has agreements with the, because our clusters are in Germany, and so the underlying providers agreements there is that all that data stays in that region. So as an American, it's just easier for me, right? If as an individual consumer, if I go over to Claude.ai and I sign up,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have no idea where where those queries bounce around in.
Yeah.
But if I come over here and I choose Germany, what we're saying to you, the user, is we guarantee it never leaves Germany.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yep.
interesting. Yeah,
And so
that's
that,
quite
yeah.
powerful. It means a lot for like regulated companies and in places like the EU.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah. And so in here, what we're doing is, you can see what models, again, the regions, and we're trying to do some context and then the pricing. And like I said, more models. So like you won't see right now in Germany 4.6 or 4.7. And that's
Mhm.
because when we got this cluster up and running, it was not yet available. As they become
Okay.
available, we get them out rolling. The
Mm,
other thing we're going to be rolling out more is also open weight models so that you can play with things like min-max and DeepSeek
mm,
and
mm.
Quen, so that you can know
But
what
then
does a good
those
job.
models would would you be able to guarantee the same thing even with those models that your
Yes,
data will stay within the region? Okay.
yes, yep. And
But
it's
that's
really
good.
nice, right? Because that gives people an opportunity to, I genuinely, to me, it's to upskill, like, and learn what works well in what situations. And if you are building agentic systems for others, things you'll land up thinking about at some point isn't just, can the model do what I'm asking of it, but can it do it efficiently and can it do it cheaply? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the
absolutely.
only way, yeah, like it's anything in
And I
business, right?
And I think there's going to be a mix of models for most workflows that, like, it's already starting that way where people are starting to mix and match models for different steps in a single workflow. And so I think that's not way out there. It's here.
It's here. Absolutely. It is here. And so then, yeah, so at the key level, you can control your keys. You can control the spend at your key level. You can delete your key. You can make as many keys as you want, because what you can do is at what we call the team level right now, you can control how much money you would spend. And so you would just go in there and then you buy your credits. And I'm happy to, like we had said before we got online, I'm happy to send over coupons for people who listen. You can share that out in
Awesome.
your information, and they can. So what they would do is they would just go ahead and buy some credits, and then they can have as many keys. They can control the spend on a
Oh,
key. If they have a team, you won't see anything right now in here because it's just me. If they have a
mm,
team, they can see people and their spend. And then we have the concept of a service key, which I think is important for several different uses, including those where if you don't want an employee's name attached to a key, because if the employee leaves, then suddenly a business critical workflow dies. So,
mm. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I'll figure out with Lauren what's the best way to share the key, whether it's to put it in the description or I'll just explain it in the description, whether it's right there or whether you got to reach out to us for that. But yeah, look in the description. Yeah, pretty cool. And yeah, sounds pretty interesting here because it looks like it's clear, it's understandable, and there's a lot of controls that you don't otherwise get, whichever model or whichever harness you use. These kind of controls are lacking, and this is what really is needed when you're using AI in organizations for production, managing production, applications and all of that. You need these controls. Yeah, really cool stuff. We're almost out of time, but is there any one more thing that you wanted to just show us from the demo that before we go that you think is pretty cool?
Yep.
Or
So Amazee clause here also. So if you wanted to also go ahead, we're going to actually, so it's $25 a month to host it. And then you can bring your own key if you want to. So if you want to use our keys, absolutely go ahead, easy peasy. But if you're like, I actually really like whatever, you're attached to whatever, or you have your own keys, or you have, maybe you're like me and you host some of your own models. You can bring those to that and you can, and go ahead. I don't have it set up on this demo environment to show you, but it's basically OpenClaw.
works the same? Yeah.
So that's there too. And then in time, we'll have some more. Our goal is to have more what we're calling AI powered apps available for
Mm,
people to easily use, and then they can either bring their own key or use one of our keys. So an example I like to use, because I know it's coming for us, is an open source tool called Anything LLM. And what we would do is you could pay us to host it, and we can ensure that the base model, the images and everything stay up to date. And we manage all the headaches of like anytime there's a release or a critical release, we manage all of that. And then you can
mm.
just use the product and do what you want. So we're going to be rolling more and more of those out over the next 6 to 12 months.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, exciting times. And yeah, I think we got into this conversation kind of wanting to keep it off script and just see where it goes. And I thought it really went in a very interesting direction because we started off with, Amazee and its background and just the backstory. But I think really got up to speed with what's happening today with Amazee and just the things you're offering and just how you see this whole space shaping. So it was really quite an engaging conversation. Yeah, thanks so much, Lauren, for joining us. It was quite a pleasure chatting with you, and
Great.
all the best for all that you're building.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Do let us know when you guys launch something big. Come back and talk about it. We'd love to have you over. If not, we'll get in touch in a few months' time, maybe end of the year or early next year, to catch up again.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but thanks again
Yeah.
for
Thank
for
you.
all having all of that.
Thanks for inviting us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers for tuning in. We hope you found this conversation engaging, interesting, and even inspiring to probably make you to go and try something new or try something different from how you've been thinking about AI. It's really exciting times to be exploring all of this. And I just love having these conversations with people like Lauren, who are right there on the front lines building and just so generously sharing from just all of their insights and experience. Hope you're enjoying it as much. And if you like this, subscribe and come back for the next episode. We'll see you on that one. Take care. Bye.